In late 2025, the United States government did something it had not done in over 200 years. It stopped making the penny. The reason was simple and a little absurd. It cost about 3.7 cents to manufacture a single 1-cent coin. The country was literally losing money every time it made money. So they killed it. The coin you have ignored your entire life, the one that collects in jars and car cup holders and the bottoms of washing machines, is now a discontinued object. Here is what almost no one realizes about that. Some of the pennies already out there, the ones sitting in your change right now, are worth a fortune. Not a few dollars, thousands, tens of thousands. In a handful of cases, more than $1 million for a single cent. And the cruelest part is this. The reason these coins survive, the reason they are still hidden in circulation instead of locked in a collector's safe, is that nobody looks at a penny. You were trained from childhood to see it as worthless, to toss it in a tray and walk away. That training is exactly why a coin worth more than your car can pass through a dozen hands and never be noticed. Today, I am going to show you which ones to look for, what they are actually worth, and exactly how to tell in 10 seconds whether the penny in your hand is 1 cent or $10,000. By the end of this, you will never look at your change the same way again, and you will probably go check a jar. Let's start with why a penny can be worth anything at all. Most pennies are worth exactly 1 cent. That part is true. Billions were made. They are common as dirt, but value hides in the exceptions, and it comes from 3 things. The first is rarity. Some years, the mint made very few. Low numbers mean few survivors, and few survivors mean collectors fight over them. The second is error. Sometimes the machines slip. A coin gets struck twice and the letters double. A leftover piece of the wrong metal sneaks into the press. A mint mark gets polished off a die by accident. These mistakes were never supposed to exist, which is exactly why they are precious. The third is condition. A coin that never circulated, that still has its original shine, can be worth 10 or 50 times more than the same coin worn smooth in someone's pocket. Collectors even grade the color. On copper, a bright red coin beats a brown one every time. When 2 of those 3 line up, the price stops making sense. And the beautiful thing is, you do not need to be an expert. You just need to know what to look at. So let's go hunting, starting with the coins most likely to actually be in your pocket right now. Forget the century-old coins for a moment. Some of the most valuable pennies are shockingly recent, and they still turn up in everyday change. Start with a date you can find in almost any jar, 1982. That year, the penny changed its body. Before 1982, pennies were almost pure copper and weigh about 3.11 grams. After, they became copper-plated zinc, lighter, at about 2.5 grams. A cheap kitchen scale tells them apart. The solid copper ones are quietly worth more than a cent just for their metal, and collectors hunt the transition coins specifically. Now, look at a penny from 1992. Flip it to the back and look closely at the word America. On almost every penny, the A and the M are spaced apart, but on a rare 1992 variety called the close AM, those 2 letters nearly touch. That tiny spacing mistake can turn a 1-cent coin into thousands of dollars. Then there is the mirror image of that error. 1999. This time, you want the A and the M in America spaced wide apart when they should be close. The wide AM, the same kind of mistake, the opposite direction, and again worth hundreds to thousands to the right buyer. There are more. a 1972 penny with strong doubling in the lettering, a 1983 with doubling on the back, a 1995 with doubling on the word liberty. None of these are ancient. All of them could pass through your hands tomorrow. Most people will spend them for a single cent and never know. But these are the warm-up, because the doubling errors get far more dramatic and far more valuable the further back you go. Let me explain doubling properly, because it is where some of the biggest money lives and where most people get fooled. A true double die happens when the tool that stamps the coin gets its own design, imprinted slightly off, twice. The result is a coin where the letters and numbers look genuinely doubled, with clean, separated edges. Real doubling shows split lines on the tops of letters. Fake or worthless doubling looks flat and shelf-like, just a smear from the machine shifting. That difference is the entire game. Split and separated, valuable. Flat and smeared, worthless. Now meet the king of the modern era, the 1969 S Doubled Die. The doubling on this coin is so bold you can see it without a magnifier. The whole front inscription looks printed twice. Fewer than 100 genuine examples are known to exist. And here is the wild part. When the first ones turned up, the Secret Service seized them, convinced they had to be counterfeit, because the doubling looked too dramatic to be real. They were real. Today, a single one can sell for tens of thousands of dollars, and the very finest known example has crossed over 1 million. But the most famous double die of all is older and more reachable, the 1955 double die. On this coin, the date and the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" are so obviously doubled that it looks like a printing mistake on paper money. Around 20,000 of them escaped into circulation, many handed out in cigarette packs, of all things. A worn one still sells for over $1,000. A pristine one can bring tens of thousands. It is the coin that made era collecting a serious hobby. And it started life as somebody's pocket change. These eras are spectacular. But there is another kind of valuable penny that has nothing to do with mistakes and everything to do with scarcity. The key dates. Some pennies are valuable for the simplest reason in the world. The mint barely made any. Look at the bottom of the front of the coin, just under the date. That little letter is the mint mark. A D means Denver, an S means San Francisco. No letter usually means Philadelphia. That tiny letter can be the difference between 1 cent and thousands of dollars. Take 1914. A penny with a D under the date. A 1914 D is one of the great key dates. Only about 1 million were made, a tiny number for a penny, and a genuine one in worn condition is worth a couple $100 and climbs hard from there. Then there is 1922. Here's the strange one. In 1922, only the Denver Mint made pennies. Every single one should have a D. But on a few, the die that stamped them was so worn down that the D vanished completely. A 1922 with no mint mark at all, a coin that looks like it came from a city that did not make pennies that year, is a famous era. A strong example can be worth $20,000. And then there is the Holy Grail, 1909 SVDB. When the Lincoln penny was first released in 1909, the designer, a man named Victor David Brenner, put his initials, VDB, on the back of the coin near the bottom. The public complained the initials were too big, too prideful, so the mint removed them almost immediately. But before they did, the San Francisco Mint had already struck about 480,000 of them with both the S Mint mark and the VDB initials. That tiny window, that brief moment of a designer's vanity, created the most sought-after Lincoln penny in existence. Even a worn one sells for hundreds, and clean examples climb into the thousands. To find it, you check two things: an S under the date on the front, and the initials VDB at the very bottom of the back. Both must be there. And be careful, because this is one of the most faked coins in America. People add fake S marks and fake initials to common pennies all the time. We will come back to that, but first, the coins that sound impossible, the ones that should not exist at all. To understand these, you need one piece of history. During World War II, copper was needed for ammunition and equipment. So in 1943, the mint made pennies out of steel instead, coated in zinc. They came out silver gray, and they stick to a magnet. Hundreds of millions were made. A normal 1943 steel penny is common and worth very little. But here is where it gets incredible. When the mint switched to steel in 1943, a tiny number of leftover copper blanks from the year before was still in the machines. They got struck with the 1943 date. A 1943 penny made of copper instead of steel should not exist. Fewer than 20 are known in the entire world. One sold for $372,000. And the rarest version, a single one made in Denver, has changed hands for around $1.7 million. For one penny. The test is almost insultingly simple. Take a 1943 penny and hold a magnet to it. If it sticks, it is ordinary steel, worth a little. If it does not stick and it looks copper, stop everything, because you may be holding a 6 or 7 figure coin. Then, the mint gives us the mirror image of that miracle. In 1944, they switched back to copper, but a few leftover steel blanks from 1943 got struck with the 1944 date. A 1944 penny that is silver gray and sticks to a magnet when it should be copper is the reverse error. Those have sold for tens of thousands, with records climbing toward $200,000. So now you know what to hunt for. The question is how to actually check without getting fooled or destroying a fortune by accident. Here is your simple routine. It takes seconds per coin. First, read the date and the mint mark together. The mint mark is that small letter under the date. The combinations are what matter. 1909 with an S and VDB, 1914 with a D, 1931 with an S. Those pairings are the treasure map. Second, for any 1943 or 1944 penny, use a magnet. 1943 should stick. If it does not, investigate. 1944 should not stick. If it does, investigate. Third, weigh the questionable ones. A real copper penny is about 3.11 grams. A modern zinc one is about 2.5. A cheap scale settles most arguments instantly. Fourth, look hard at the lettering for doubling. Remember the rule. Clean, separated, split edges mean a real doubled die worth money. Flat, smeared shelves mean nothing. And fifth, the most important rule of all. Do not clean your coins, ever. It feels natural to shine up an old dirty penny. Do not. Cleaning scratches the surface and can destroy most of the value in an instant. Collectors pay a premium for coins that were never touched. A grimy original penny is worth far more than a shiny scrubbed one. If you think you have something real, leave it exactly as it is and send it to a professional grading service to be authenticated and sealed. Which brings us to the part of this world nobody likes to talk about, the traps. Where there is hidden money, there are people waiting to take it from you. The first trap is fakes. The most valuable pennies are the most counterfeited. People take a common 1948 penny and shave it into a 1943 look-alike. They copper plate ordinary steel cents to fake the 1943 copper. They solder fake S mint marks and fake initials onto plain pennies to forge a 1909 SVDB. If you ever believe you have a major rarity, the only safe move is professional authentication. Never take a seller's word, and never pay a stranger for a raw, ungraded version of a coin that should be worth a fortune. The second trap is the cleaning instinct, which we covered, but it bears repeating because it destroys more value than any forger. Good intentions have ruined more rare coins than any scam. The third trap is the rush to sell. People who find something real often panic and sell it fast to the first coin shop for a fraction of what it is worth. A genuinely rare coin is worth getting graded, researched, and sold properly. Patience is the difference between getting $2,000 and getting 20. So that is the hunt, the checks, and the dangers. But there is a reason this story matters far beyond coins, and it is the real reason I made this video. Step back and look at what is actually happening here. The penny is the single most dismissed object in your entire financial life. It is the thing you are taught from the time you are a child to treat as worthless. You round it away. You leave it in the tray by the register. You let it pile up, and you never, ever look at it closely. And that is precisely why the treasures survive there. A coin worth $1 million can hide in plain sight for decades, not because it is well hidden, but because of a belief. The belief that it is not worth a second glance. The most valuable pennies in the world were not lost in vaults. They were lost in pockets, in jars, in the hands of people who held real fortunes and felt nothing, because they had been trained to see only a penny. This is the pattern that runs through everything. The value is rarely where everyone is looking, because where everyone is looking, the price is already fair. The value hides in the thing you have been taught to ignore: the small account, the boring document, the coin in the tray. Attention is the entire edge, and almost no one spends it on the things that look worthless. And now, the final irony. The government just discontinued the penny because it was not worth the cost of making it, which means the ones already out there will slowly vanish from circulation, get melted, get forgotten, becoming rarer every year. The object the entire country agreed to throw away is the same object quietly holding fortunes. The world told you it was worthless. That message was the most expensive thing you ever believed. So here is the question, not someday, tonight. Where is your change? The jar on the shelf, the cup in the car, the forgotten drawer where coins go to die. When was the last time you actually looked, not glanced, but looked, at what is sitting in there? Because somewhere in this country, right now, someone is about to spend a penny worth more than their salary, and they will never know. The only thing standing between you and that mistake is whether you are willing to do the one thing nobody else will. Look closer at the thing everyone else ignores. Subscribe to Money Fails. Real stories, real mistakes, real lessons. Because the most expensive thing you own might be the one you were taught to throw away. See you in the next one.